So welcome to another installment from Jay's and JJ's Kitchen. So today we're going to do a little Cajun recipe, I would call it, Cajun Creole recipe. We're going to make dirty rice. Thanks for watching. So our ingredients for dirty rice, it probably seems like a bit much that I have up here, but I'll break it down for you. Basically for our dirty rice, what we have, I've got chicken gizzards, I've got ground beef, ground pork, bell peppers, celery, onions of course, we've got our long grain rice, garlic, we've got some parsley, we've got bay leaves, thyme. I'm gonna go with some Lowry's and some Tony Chachere's Cajun seasoning, our Worcestershire sauce, black pepper, and I'm using chicken broth. You can go with beef. I'm not a big fan of beef broth, so that's why I go with the chicken. And my little secret ingredient here, because I do everything basically homemade. However, I have found that if you get one box of small box of the Zatarain's dirty rice, that's where I actually, my first rice was basically making the Zatarain's, right? And I found that if you get a small box of this, make it as per the instructions, then we're gonna add that back to our homemade dirty rice, okay? Just keep a note of that. The other spices you see here, our sage, paprika, onion soup mix, that is for our ground. If you watch any of my videos where I've had a ground beef, you notice that's how I season my ground beef and my sausage. Basically, salt and pepper, onion soup mix, paprika, sage, and I always chop up onions in that to give that flavor. So that being said, these are our ingredients, so we're gonna get started. Oh, one thing I forgot, just about it. Additionally, with this, I guess I would say authentic dirty rice, we're gonna make a roux. A roux basically is something that's used, we'll use it with dirty rice. We also use it when we're making gumbo. Anybody familiar with that, but we're gonna show you how we do that and get started. All right. Okay, so you saw the ingredients, all the ingredients that we had for our dirty rice. So at this point, I've got my rice already washed and boiled my rice. I've cleaned the gizzards and they are in the pot now cooking. You can see I've did my prep work. I've got my bell pepper, celery and onions. Yeah, we're not gonna use all of that for this recipe. But when I'm making the roux, I'm gonna make a larger roux and I'll freeze that. So the next time I need a roux, I don't have to go through and make it. It is a process. It takes a little while to make, but I'll show you that when I get to that point. But I just wanted to come back and show you our ground beef and our sausage mix. And cause we had all the spices sitting out there, didn't want to confuse you as far as, everything that was going into our rice or separate for our ground beef, ground pork mixture. So I just put some Lowry's in it. We're gonna season it with a little black pepper. Here's our paprika. Our sage. And we got to get a cup. We got 2 pounds, so I'm going to use basically, when I do this, I pretty much go one pack of onion soup mix per pound that I have of meat. So we've got 2 pounds, so we're using both packs. Get this open. Get that in there. And of course, with all my ground beef recipes, basically, I always add onions, chopped onions into it. I'll mix that in there so that flavor will be cooked in with the meat juices itself, right? So we're just going to put some onions in there, like so, and get this mixed up real well, and it'll be ready to go to the skillet to get this browned and set aside. Set aside, and we'll have to mix everything together because we'll add our broth to it. Once we get the meat browned, we'll throw some of our vegetables on top of that. Let that kind of cook with the meat a little bit. Add our broth and our remaining spices there, and basically let that kind of simmer. And add our rice to it. Once our rice is already cooked, but once we get our all our spices and liquids incorporated together with the meat, that's when we'll come back and add the rice at the back end of that. So that being said, we're gonna get this ground beef and ground pork browned, and we'll get started on our roux, and we'll come back and show you that stuff. Alrighty, so as you can see, we're still moving right along here, slowly, taking our time with this. You can see we got our ground beef, we got it in the ground pork seasoned, we've got it browned, and at the end of that process, for the last, you want to put your vegetables. I went with about 1/3 of a cup of the bell pepper, of the onion, and of the celery, and a tablespoon of garlic, chopped up garlic, and added that in at the last and let that kind of sweat. And then once you have that done, this is done, we can put this off to the side. And now we're going to work on our roux, making our roux, right? The only thing this is, I'm like I said, making kind of a larger one, because for this particular recipe here for our rice, I only need about 1/4 cup. But I wanted to make some and freeze it. It's just a matter, I've got I think I did about 1.5 cups of flour, and I've got about a little over a cup of oil, just regular vegetable, or I use canola oil. And we're gonna sit here and we're gonna kind of watch it and stir it, just get it mixed up. And this is the color whenever you first start off with it. And it's different colorings. This recipe here actually calls for a dark roux. So we're gonna get this to basically like a dark chocolate color. I think it's different levels. Some of it, a light color roux would be considered a roux that is about the color of peanut butter, right? And then from there, your next stage, if you want it darker, you want to make it, just cook it until it gets to the color of, I would say, milk chocolate. And if you're using a recipe that you need a dark chocolate, you just continue to just kind of stir it and let it cook like this until it reaches the coloring, basically, of a dark chocolate color. And once you get to that point, you want to have your vegetables prepared and cut up, because you put that in there to cool it off, to keep it from burning, from sitting there and burning, or trying to have to cool it fast. The way you cool it is by putting your prepped vegetables, which is your onion, your celery, and bell pepper. You put that in there and it cools it off. So this is what we're going to do. So we'll check back in with you to kind of let you see the colorings when it changes color, and let you see how that looks. Okay, so right now you can see we're at that, a little bit darker than peanut butter, but right at that peanut butter color. So we've got to keep going. We've got to get the milk chocolate, and then the dark chocolate, and then we'll be done with this. We need about 1/4 of a cup for our dirty rice recipe. So we're still at it, and we'll come back and show you when we get to the color that we're looking for. There you can see it darkens as you cook, as you let it cook. You just have to kind of continue to kind of move it around so it doesn't burn on you. Say the only thing you're working with is oil and flour. So we'll come back when we get to that color that we're looking for. But I just wanted you to see that, how it darkens, and when you see we from where it started out to now we're at the peanut butter color, and we're moving towards that milk chocolate pretty quick. So we'll get there and we'll be back and finish our recipe. All right, so we're gonna call this good. This is, we're gonna try to get it to this point. We're gonna call this our dark roux. You can still see how it's steaming there. The way you cool that off, like I was saying, is having your vegetables ready. Get those off in there. That right there cools it down. So you want to have those ready and see how dark that is, right? And that's pretty much what you're looking for. That is a dark roux. All right, so we just got to get 1/4 cup of this, and we will continue with our dirty rice. Okay guys, so we've got our gizzards done, our beef, right? Our ground beef pork mixture with the vegetables in it. So now it's just a matter of putting everything together. So what we wanted to do, we had to make that roux, right? So I need 1/4 cup of that. We're gonna get me a good 1/4 cup, a Jay's 1/4 cup, right? Dump that in there. Get that mixed around. Now we're going to add about 3 cups of broth. Okay there, so we got that in there. Mix that around. Now, once we get to this point, it's just a matter of adding in our spices. So we're going to go with a couple of bay leaves here. Bay leaves. Get us some Cajun spices in there. So I use Tony's. You can use Slap Your Mama's or whichever your favorite is. This is one I've been using for years, so I kind of stick with that. With that, not much, just a sprinkle of salt. I'll get us about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. A little thyme. Our black pepper. And I think that's about it. We got everything else in there that we needed. We had our salt, bay leaves, black pepper, Worcestershire sauce. And so now we're just going to kind of let this sit and kind of simmer for about 30 minutes. And then it's a matter of coming back, adding our rice to it. And at that time, we'll also add in our box Zatarain's rice. And we'll be done with this. Homemade dirty rice.